Now, in its 11th year, this is GabNet. Talk like you've never heard it before.
From Harlem in New York City. Yep, it's the Ramble. Ladies and gentlemen, his name is Larry Bubbles Brown, and he resides in San Francisco, California. And how's that city of ours doing, Bubs?
Let's see. I think we had a little rioting Sunday night, but I don't think it was a big deal.
Yeah, a little rioting. Okay. Yeah. Well, there's a lot of it going on, and with good reason, But what is it? What I read, and all this, by the time this plays, which will be Friday, a lot of this will be over with. But the president spent $143 million to send all those troops to California.
How much?
$143 million.
That can't be.
Now, how much did you pay in taxes last year?
Probably $3 or $4 grand.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so part of that has gone to getting all those troops in California to infest your streets. He's just inciting things. That's all. What am I going to say? I give up. Can't fight it any longer.
You can't fight it.
Yeah.
What is that? Something is futile.
Resistance is futile.
Resistance is futile.
Yep. That's it. Yeah. But it is futile. I mean, I just know we're stuck with this guy, and we can't do anything about it. And he's turning our country into a dictatorship, with his troops in the street to do things his way. He said, because they were spitting on the troops, okay? They were saying, if you spit, we hit. I got to tell you, spitting isn't deadly. Unless maybe you got some kind of deadly disease, in which case I guess it could be deadly, but that's unreasonable. So how are you doing, my friend?
If you don't spit, we must acquit. I was thinking, I ran across that the other. That was the greatest moment in the history of American trial.
Yes, exactly.
Johnny Cochran was a genius.
Yeah. So, are you talking directly into your phone enough?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I guess I'm getting enough volume here, but I can't hear it through the earphones. That's the problem. Oh, well. Anyway, so how have you been?
Okay, nothing going on. My life is just so boring. So.
Boring? Why, you just do nothing?
Yeah.
You don't go out and hang out at the clubs?
No, very rarely, yeah.
Remember you used to hang out, you even hung out at a club when you weren't working there, right?
Oh, always, yeah. The Walnut Creek Punchline.
Yeah. Or Tommy T's in San Leandro.
Yeah, those were good hangouts, yeah.
They were great hangouts. They were the best places to be, They
were, yeah. But now, see, I've gotten older, and new people have come along, and
of course, the back room at Tommy T's was great because that's where there were always lines of Coke.
See, I never saw that, but I guess that must.
Well, when you were looking for it like I was, But, well, you didn't do any drugs, did you?
No.
Not even pot?
Never. I've never smoked pot once.
Really?
No.
Never?
No.
Wow.
Someone told me that some people when they smoke pot get really creepy and paranoid, and I thought, I'm sure that's what would happen to me. So.
I don't know anybody that gets creepy and paranoid, but, My mic seems very loud, and yours doesn't seem. Trying to listen to it here, and I can't get it straight. So anyway, so you never.
What drugs have you tried in your life?
Do you want a list?
Yes.
Shall I start with the legal ones I'm taking now? Let's see here. First of all, what was the first drug I ever did? I guess the first drug I ever did was alcohol, I guess. When I was in high school, I used to drink in high school, but the minute I became 21 and could buy liquor, I stopped doing it. You know, it was one of those things you did as a rebellion. Okay.
Right, yeah.
You know, kids would always figure out ways to go out and get booze. You know, you would order it from a liquor store, and then you would say, well, my mother ordered it, but she's not here right now. I'll pay you and take it from you. And that always worked.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. And then we'd sit around all night drinking one bottle of booze. And I remember once being in Sausalito, sitting on a pier, passing a bottle back and forth between us. I think there were about three of us until one of us fell in the water. And then
Did he drown?
Then we figured it was through, but we went and he got out of the water, and we all went home, loaded and drunk, you know. But that was my first drug, and then I stopped it completely when I hit 21. I didn't like liquor. It was just something that you could do as a rebellion, you know. And then let's see here. What was my next drug? My next drug of choice. Then drugs came in. All right. And let's see here.
Well, at the time, pot was like very illegal.
Well, my wife Ronnie said you should try marijuana. All right. And I said, well, where do we get marijuana? And she says, my hairdresser sells it. Hairdressers were always the biggest drug dealers in the business.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So I said, okay, I'm willing to try it, but I don't know, you know. And I said, I hear, you know, it could lead to heavier drugs. And she says, that's ridiculous. Says, this guy deals in pot, okay? Okay, so we went to his place, and we got some pot, and Ronnie rolled it, I think, or maybe it was pre-rolled. I don't remember. And we got in the car, and I smoked a couple of puffs, you know, and she taught me how to do it. And on our way home, about halfway, I said, I think you better drive. I said, I can't drive. This is ridiculous. Because pot is I don't know if you know this about marijuana, it's one of the few drugs you can compensate for. In other words, if you suddenly say, I got to drive home, and you're stoned on pot, you can set your head right so that you can drive. You can compensate for the drug. Now, don't go out and try driving high on pot, folks, but you can compensate for it. It's one of the few drugs you can. Yeah. And but I couldn't, because if you're used to it, you can compensate. If you're not used to it, forget it. So she drove us home, and I was just blotto, you know, for the rest of the night. It was like 3 puffs or something like that. And I went, wow, that wasn't bad, you know, but I didn't decide I was going to make it a hobby at that point. And the next day, we get a call from her hairdresser asking if we want to buy some heroin. And I said, see, it does lead to other stuff. See?
The gateway drug.
There's a gateway drug. I know the gateway drug was getting your hair done. Yeah. So that
heroin. That's quite a leap from pot.
Yeah. Do you want to try some heroin? Yeah, sure, right. Oh, boy, you know. So then, let's see, then what was it? Oh, then I had always been interested in LSD, because I had read a book called Doorways of Perception, which was written by, I believe, George Orwell, if I'm not mistaken. And it was dealt with drugs which change your perception. And one of them was, well, there were quite a few of them, you know. but the one that was mentioned in his book was LSD. And I saw that I was living in LA at the time, and I saw that they were having tests for LSD at UCLA. And I really wanted to get in on those tests, but I never did. So now I'm living in Houston, and somebody says, you want some LSD? And that was something I always wanted to try from an intellectual standpoint. Can you understand that?
Mm-hmm. Oh, me too. That's the only drug I ever had any interest in.
Yeah. So I started using LSD and taking it upon a lot of occasions. I'd say if I did it, maybe it was 10 times, something like that.
And
it was what?
Were they pleasant or were they nightmares?
It was pleasant, but it could become unpleasant. What happened was the last time I ever did it, somebody said, "Oh, come on, let's get in the car and take a ride." So I figured, what the hell? I get in the car, and all of a sudden I'm looking out and I'm imagining cars imploding. And I started really panicking, and the guy had to take me home. And that's the first time I ever freaked out on LSD. And I said, that's it. I don't need it anymore.
Yeah.
But I did have some rather revelatory sessions on that drug. What was interesting was I was up in upstate New York, and I was high on LSD, and I was lying in somebody's bedroom. And in the room that I was viewing, I suddenly saw myself as a young person having sex for the first time. And I literally relived it.
Wow.
And was amazed and overwhelmed by the fact of how innocent that act was, but how dirty you felt you were being at the moment. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, but
yeah,
that's an interesting. See, that's why it would be a cool drug to do things like that.
Yeah, it would be. And so I was able to do that drug like that, and I would have some revelatory experiences, and I also realized it was a therapeutic drug, and I should use it to try and work out some problems that I had, either emotionally or whatever. And one of the big problems I had was being a hypochondriac. And I kind of worked it out in one session and decided that I really wasn't sick ever and that I shouldn't worry about it. And for years, I wasn't a hypochondriac. It came back later on. But for years, I wasn't a hypochondriac. So, I used it to solve problems. It was a very good therapeutic drug, which got sidelined by all the bad publicity about it. And they made it illegal, and nobody could get it. But it was maybe one of the most therapeutic drugs we had, because psychiatrists said, we can bypass years of therapy with just one session of LSD. But it took about 8 hours, and the shrink had to sit there for 8 hours and see you through it, and so on and so forth. But it was that therapeutic. And the problem was also it could put a lot of shrinks out of business, because they bring you back every week. You need another week. Right. Then you find you've been paying a guy $100 a week for 2 years, and you're really not feeling much better.
And they've done nothing,
Yeah. Whereas with LSD, you could literally bypass years of psychiatry with it. And it was made illegal. So, its therapeutic uses was cut short. And that was the terrible part about LSD.
Well, that's where I'd heard about it. Like the Cary Grant had used that, like in the 50s for, psychotherapy.
Yeah. And he used it, and he liked it, and I don't know why he took it, I think he did it for therapeutic reasons too.
Right.
And it was basic. It still remains the strongest therapeutic drug we have. And I think some people are starting to use it again. I know they're using psilocybin for people who are dying. Psilocybin is very good to help them through the process of dying. And my ex-wife, Ronnie, took psilocybin and said it, and she had pancreatic cancer and then other cancers that invaded her body. And she was in a great deal of pain. She took psilocybin, and it really helped her get through the process, So these drugs are great drugs, and they don't get used as much as they should be, although they're starting to use, they say, psilocybin more today than they have in the past. So anyway.
Yeah, I heard, there was a couple of big, they're trying to sell it in the stock market. Some companies were developing that, and they thought it was going to be a big thing.
Yeah. Then let's see here. What else did I take? There were quite a few other drugs that came around that I did. I never did heroin. That was the one drug I didn't do, and I didn't do it because I didn't think it was going to be helpful. Okay? I went through my cocaine stage. You knew me then.
Yeah.
I always had a little bottle. We had a little problem where we stopped for a second, but I think we're fine now. And now I think we're going okay. I'm sorry there, Larry. Where were we? We were discussing...
You're talking about ecstasy and how things feel good.
Yeah, and the best time I ever had, one of the best times I ever had sexually, is this woman I knew who loved taking ecstasy and having sex. And she said, "You want to take some ecstasy and have some sex?" I said, "Yeah." She said, "Let's go to the hot tubs." So we went to a hot tub, and we dropped the ecstasy, and it was wonderful. It was just ecstatic. It was good. It was terrific. Everything feels wonderful, And ecstasy, I talked to a couple of doctors about ecstasy, and they said it's not a dangerous drug at all. It's just a fun drug, and the doctors, every doctor I ever met didn't say, "Don't do it." It's terrible for you. If I said I was doing cocaine, they go, "That's bad for you." If I was doing heroin, they'd say, "It's bad for you." Ecstasy? Oh, it's great. I don't know that the doctors I asked weren't doing it themselves, but anyway. So.
And did that wear off fairly quickly?
No, it took a couple hours.
Okay.
But in a hot tub, man, it was wonderful. Mm.
And how many people have you known that took heroin?
Well, I only knew one. I think I only knew one person that I knew was a heroin addict. Okay, and that was Mac Rebenak, Dr. John. And I got to know him fairly well here in New York. I used to go to parties with him and so on, and he was known as being pretty much an addict. But he was a functional addict. He's one of those people who, could be a heroin addict and still go out on stage and perform and do a great job. People don't know this about heroin. There were people out there who were called weekend junkies. They get high on the weekends, but during the weekdays they wouldn't do it.
Really?
And then they would go to work at their job as a stockbroker or whatever and do very well at it, and then they go home on weekends and do heroin. So it's a very strange drug.
Yeah, some people were on it for years.
Yeah, you've probably known a couple of people who were on heroin, right?
I don't think so.
Yeah, did I know any comedians who were on heroin? No, I guess I didn't. But I'm trying to think.
I'm surprised there weren't some.
Well, I'm sure there were. They certainly wouldn't have told you, But anyway, so Mac was completely functional, but he was the only real heroin addict I think I've ever known. Let me see here. What other drug? Any other drugs? I guess that's it. I can't think of too many other drugs that I take. or that I have taken. But drugs are fun. Let's be honest about it. If you don't get hooked on them or use them obsessively, you use them for recreation. I'd say stay away from heroin. I would cocaine occasionally if it's not going to make your life a living hell unless you let it. Okay.
Which a lot of people did.
Which a lot of people did, yeah. Just be careful when you use a drug like that. But LSD, you got to be careful. You got to have somebody watching you while you're taking a trip, because you need somebody around you who's grounded to the real world. They usually call them a guide. I don't know, but drugs never overwhelmed me. Whatever drug I did that I was doing too much, like the coke back then. And the only reason I could do it, because Robin Williams had a great saying about it, cocaine is God's way of telling you you're making way too much money. And I had a lot of money back then, so it didn't really, it didn't make me a poor man, okay, as a result of it. And then when it was time to stop, I stopped. And I've been that way with almost every drug. And I think maybe I took the note from my father, who one day he drank like crazy. He was a musician, right? They would go out to a club. Somebody would go buy the band a drink. When this happens 5 times, you're pretty drunk. Although he could hold his liquor really well. But at one time, he suddenly found out that he was getting drunk a lot, and he couldn't hold the liquor. And at something like 43, 45, he just stopped doing it. One day, just said, that's it, I don't need alcohol anymore. He stopped doing it. And I think I have the same constitution he did. I don't think I'm going to get hooked on anything, because I can just say, that's it, I've had it with that, goodbye, I'll see you later.
Yeah, I think weak-willed people tend to get more addicted.
Yeah. How about you with people that you knew? Were there people? What were they hooked on, if anything? What?
I just remember the 80s. So many people doing cocaine.
Yeah.
I thought there was a lot of closet alcoholics in comedy. Guys that they always had a beer in their hand, which is not a hard drink, but they would drink them all night.
Mm. But beer, yeah. Have you ever been a beer drinker?
I hate it.
I haven't been either. The only time that I've really ever liked beer is when it was a really hot day, and I had nothing to drink, but there was some beer around, and I had some beer, and that was really nice on a hot day. It was a good, refreshing drink. But otherwise, I just never really liked beer. I never liked wine. How about wine? You ever get into wine?
Wine almost makes me puke, just the smell of it.
Really?
Yeah.
Boy, you are yeah, okay. We'll take that as a...
no. I would prefer... tell you what I would like would be morphine. I only had that once, but that seemed like it was heaven.
Oh, you had more? You were in a hospital and you had more?
That was for the kidney stone, yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, they're really good.
So I wonder if that's similar to heroin.
I don't know. How long were you in the hospital with the kidney stone?
Well, believe it or not, they kept me in there like for 2 or 3 days.
I was in for about 4 days. Until the stones passed.
Yeah, why would they today? Like they cut your heart and they send you home the same day.
Yeah, well, no. What happens with the kidney stones is they just want it to pass, and so they put an IV in you with basically saline, and it's starting to flush it out and get it flushed out, and finally 3 days later, in a pool of blood, you suddenly see this rock. But it was, I was in there, yeah, and they gave me morphine.
Oh, yeah.
And if I wanted more, they come over to me and they go, and this is a hint for anybody who's ever in the hospital and they offer you morphine. When they say on a scale of 1 to 10, how much pain do you have?
10.
Always say 10 or 9. Because if you say any less, they're not going to give you a good shot of that stuff. But if you say 9, oh man, you're off to la la land, right?
Yeah.
And it's great for pain. God,
Wonderful,
I had a wonderful time in the hospital. I'm glad we had the same thing. Anyway. Hey, listen, we've run out of time, and we've talked about all the drugs I've ever done.
We've run out of time and drugs.
Yes, but I'll see you next week. Is that possible? Okay, Larry Brown, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Larry.
Thank you.
Now, in its 11th year, this is GabNet. Talk like you've never heard it before.
Oh, yeah, and there goes Larry. Thank you, Larry. We appreciate it very much. Okay, let me I have to turn my audio just right. I'm having a little trouble with this audio lately. I don't know why, but I guess it sounds okay, and we hope that it's sounding okay to you, too. We have this is our Friday show, and as always, we seem to get quite a few people in here. So let's start bringing some of them in. First of all, let me just do this. There we go. And that way I can bring in a bunch of people. Here we go. There's Charlie there's Jeff, and there's Charlie Wallace. And wait a minute, where's Charlie Wallace? Oh, he's there somewhere. Kevin and Vernon Nunn. How are all of you doing? Are you doing okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, you're doing all right. Okay.
Charlie and I are twins.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. Wait a minute. Hold on a second. I got to do something here. No, that should be working okay.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't know what my problem is here. Hold on a second. Testing. Okay. Wait a minute. I'm trying to figure something out here. Hold on. Let me see here. There we go. Okay, that brings it down. Okay, there we go. Okay.
Got your audio, now do your video.
What? Yeah, my video's fine now.
You're the only one showing on YouTube.
I know, but I'm ahead of you.
Okay.
See, it'll turn
there
any
you
second.
Are.
See, I told you.
Like
Here's Tom Yamaguchi. Boy, we got a lot of people tonight. Oh, okay. We haven't seen you for a couple of nights, Alan, right?
Yeah.
Why?
Well, my roommate's still, he's going to be in the hospital probably another month and a half. He had major back surgery. So,
wow.
Driving over to the VA, at 73 years old and in horrible shape. If they had explained that he was going to be in the hospital for 2 months recovering, he would have never done it.
Really? Well, Marjorie, it's the same thing with Marjorie. She's got her back problems, and so we're questioning, whether she should have that knee problems rather. She should have the knees operated on because the recoveries. Somebody wrote me said 12 weeks. Okay.
Sometimes. Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah.
When you get a boo-boo when you're at our age, it takes like a week and a half to go away.
Mm-hmm.
You hit your leg up against a piece of furniture, it hurts for a week. It's not like a kid anymore where, ouch. Yes. Okay, I'm fine,
Yeah. Yep. Oh, well, what the hell,
Tom Yamaguchi changed. He's starting to look like Vernon Nunn.
Yeah, where is Tom? Tom?
Tom
there he is. There he is.
I turned my camera off because your other fellow's T-shirt inspired me to get the T-shirt I'm going to be wearing tomorrow at No King's Day. Let's see if I can.
Oh boy. Rather kneel for freedom than stand with fascists. Very good.
Excellent.
Yeah, that's good. We all got to get coordinated here because.
Look at this one.
It's Chris
well, Charlie and Wayne have this. Charlie and Vernon have the same shirt.
Yeah, we're twins tonight.
Yeah.
Well, I decided that maybe there's a demonstration here in New York, and Marjorie and I are trying to figure out if we can go. because we just don't know if we're capable of walking that far. You know.
Yeah, what happens if they start setting off tear gas?
Well, that I don't mind. I'll run into it, for crying out loud. If so, I want to get arrested. Okay.
Yeah.
But I've been with tear gas before. I was at the Democratic Convention riots or they called them riots. Really, it was the police rioting in Chicago, and at the Democratic Convention. And I've had tear gas thrown at me, you know.
Yeah.
And I can survive tear gas because in the Navy, they did a bit where they would take you in somewhere and they would let go some tear gas, and then they'd make you you had to take your masks off and learn how to survive through the tear gas. So I learned how to survive through the tear gas.
Tear gas is a different chemical nowadays. This is OC, you know, a pepper spray in a gas form, and it is not as easy as regular tear gas. So,
Really?
Like cayenne pepper, isn't it?
It is. It's
Yeah.
cayenne pepper. You're absolutely right, Kevin. And it burns, and you got to get out of it. I mean, you can't breathe. You can't. I went through that same type of tear gas training in the academy, you know, and they put you in a Quonset hut and fire off some of those things and throw them in the thing, and you got to be in there and you got to sing, some song without a mask on. And
Do you remember what the song was?
no, I don't. Always I
Get me
remember.
out of here.
You got to put
Probably
your
happy
mask.
birthday to you.
Yeah, you got to put your mask on while you're in all this smoke,
Mm-hmm.
and then come out. And of course, I put my mask on, and the thing ripped right off of my hand that seals it. I have a good picture of me. I should find it somewhere and post it when I'm standing there with a broken gas mask outside the Quonset.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, well.
I
Wow.
don't know. It's probably in black and white. It's from 1980.
Really?
It's not black and white, but it's
It's black and white.
probably from that.
Yeah,
that
probably.
back.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I just I would love to get arrested. I've never been arrested, and that would be kind of fun.
Yeah,
You know.
yeah, that'd be cool.
But they probably won't take me. No, he's too old. He's too old. Don't do it. He's too old.
Nah, they'll
I'll
take
probably have a heart attack, and then we'll be responsible, and
Yeah. Just don't cooperate. It would take 4 of them to carry you off.
Well, I don't know what kind of response there would be here in New York, because New York kind of allows these demonstrations to go on. And Trump hasn't sent in any forces here, so we can riot to our heart's content. You know.
burn down. Do it in front of Trump Plaza or Trump Tower.
There you go. Trump Tower.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, it's going to start at Bryant Park.
Where's that?
Well, it's Bryant Park. It's 42nd and 5th. Okay. And then they're going to have everybody march down to Union Square, which is 34th, I think.
Isn't 42nd and 5th like Midtown?
No, it's not 34th. It's actually for the 23rd.
Oh,
Is it?
wait.
No, it's
Last
actually 14th. It's 14th. Yeah.
Okay, I know right where 14th is, but yeah, that's way down there.
Yeah, it'd be a nice little walk if we did it. I don't know if I could make it. Marjorie doesn't think she can make it either. And I said, sometimes it's just good to show up and be part of the mass.
You
and
need
then
yourself a golf cart.
Yeah, and if everybody else goes and marches and is able to do that, because it's really a young person sport, at least we showed up at the beginning to add numbers to the people who are there,
is there going to be like a rally at the end, or maybe you show up at the end?
We could do that too,
Take the rail, the underground rail, and pop up at the end.
Or that's the way you do the marathon. You start, you start at the beginning, and then you take a cab down to the finish.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the way you do it. But it's it's gonna be fun.
You've never been arrested? You've never been to a
No,
demonstration
I've never been arrested. Mm-mm. Never, ever.
An experience.
Well, you know, I mean, I almost got arrested well, what happened was in Chicago, okay, in Illinois, when you get a what do you call it, a driver's license, they give you a temporary driver's license, and it's a piece of paper, and you ride on the piece of paper, okay? So if somebody stops you, you can always show them the piece of paper, right?
Yep.
So I had that. That was my way of driving, and I got stopped by the cops for speeding or something. I can't remember what it was. And so they said, well, okay, let's see your license. And I show them the piece of paper, and they said, well, that's not good enough. You have to come down to the police department, and you've got to pay us your fine.
Wow, really?
Okay. So we went down there, and they said it's going to be so much. And we said, okay, well, let us go home, and we'll get the money or something. And because all the banks were closed, it was on Sunday night, and banks in those days were closed, right? So they said, well, we're sorry, you can't leave until you pay the money. I said, well, I have it at home. Let me go home. And they said, no. And I said to Ronnie, who was my wife at the time, well, you go home, and you bring the money in. And then she calls me at the police station and says, you know, we don't have any money. We don't have that much money here. It was like $25 or something, which was a lot in those days.
Sure.
And I said, do you take any kind of coin of the realm, as it were? And they said, yeah, sure. If you bring it in, we'll it's money, right? I said, Ronnie, know all those pennies we've been storing away in that bucket? Yeah. I said, bring those down. So she comes down with this jar full of pennies, and we put it on the table, and we just dump them out on the thing. And we said, there's my bail money.
Yeah,
and they looked at it and they went, it's money.
yeah.
So they started counting all the pennies. This is like at midnight, okay? They're counting all the pennies. And they said, well, there appear that there will be that many pennies here, so you can go home. And as I'm leaving, one guy looks at me and goes, you know, if I were, I would do the same exact thing, you know. Pay it off in nothing but pennies. But as it was, we got out for doing it with nothing but pennies. So, yeah. But today, you know, all you have to do is run down to the bank and grab the money out of the ATM because they're open 24/7. Or you can use a credit card, or you can do any one of a number of things. But in those days, no, you had to have the cash, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the closest I ever came to winding up in the clinker, because they told her if you can't come up with the money, he's going to have to stay in jail all night. And I'm going, for speeding? You know, I mean.
Do you guys have a Sealy Posturepedic bed? I mean, that's all I sleep on, you know.
Yeah, right. So anyway, that was my only time coming close to being in a prison or jail or whatever, you know. But I've had other friends who spend time in prison, for crying out loud, you know.
Of course.
Mm-hmm.
We have a lot of those.
Mm-hmm. 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 I mean, most of them were in jail for drugs, you know.
Yeah.
Because in the old days, if you got caught with marijuana, man, you were going to prison.
When I started in 1980, marijuana, a joint, was still a felony, California.
Can you believe that? Can you even begin to believe that?
You know, I got to tell you, I always thought it was BS. You're supposed to enforce the law. I do. I warn them. I have them dump the marijuana on the ground. I step on it and I tell them goodbye. And they're like, can't we pick it? No. I'm saving you from a felony going to jail. You know, just be lucky. I'm a nice guy.
Well, today it's not even a crime at all in most states. In most states,
if you're under 18, if you're under the influence, it's like being under the influence of alcohol in most states. So,
well, I don't think you should drive on it. No, I think there's something wrong about that. You know.
No.
So
It's good when you turn to your friend when
Mhm.
you know that's driving with you and say, I'm really stoned. Was that a red light or a green light that we just went through?
yeah, right. Well, you know what's worse is people who drive on their alcohol. The people who drive on pot, if they're too high, will say, "I can't drive."
Right.
Where people on booze never admit they're too drunk to drive.
And I got to tell you, as a former cop, I got to tell you, I never have found somebody high on marijuana that wanted to get in a fight over getting arrested.
Yeah.
Boy, about half the people you arrest for drunk driving that are drunk, it's the fight's on.
Oh boy. Hello to Tom Yamaguchi is with us tonight. Hi, Tom. Well, how do you like what's happening out there in California? Well, I mean, you got to admit, Donald Trump prevented from L.A. from going up in flames.
Oh yeah,
Jesus.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
He arrested that
Save-
damn
save
Democratic
Christy Nome.
senator.
yeah,
Yeah.
Save Christy Nome.
Padilla.
from,
Padilla.
Yeah, that's what I
Yeah,
was
Alex
referring to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let Tom talk here.
Yeah, I was just saying she saved Christy Nome from being attacked by our Senator Padilla. And by the way, he wanted to ask her a question. I have a question for Christy Nome too. Where's Cricket?
There you go.
What do you mean? Where's Cricket?
That was the dog she killed.
Oh, that dog. Oh, yeah.
That
yeah.
dog.
Okay.
And then she's scared of this guy and says, "Oh, he's so we're still
He wasn't even close to her.
And they,
You know,
and I've heard basically they knew he was coming. He actually had an escort to the hearing room, and he has to go in. He was listening until she started talking about how they were going to stay put until they overturned our duly elected democratic government, both state and local. And then he had enough, and he says, "I have a question." And then they just tackled him and pulled him outside.
Wow.
And they handcuffed him.
And then she
Yeah.
went on Fox and said she lunged. I watched the whole thing live.
Yeah.
She went on. You like watching Fox, don't you? Because it's like living in another world.
Yeah, it's fun. It's entertaining.
Yeah.
It's mostly that Fox Raw Live Now.
Raw. Well, Raw. That's
It's just video, and then they go into a 2-minute break, and then they come back to more video, and they go all over the place.
They don't-
Then I'll
they
switch
don't-
over to Fox
Yeah.
News to get their bullshit.
Yeah. Well,
Is that Fox Now?
On Fox Now,
Yeah.
they don't really come up with any opinions on what you're seeing.
No, they don't.
just show you the news,
like
Yeah,
these
they just show
live.
you video from around the country.
which is the most honest thing Fox has done in its entire
Exactly.
history.
Yeah.
You know.
I wonder how many people that are liberal like us have had to buy a new TV set after watching Fox News. I know a friend of mine that his wife changed it to Fox by accident. He went out there and the news was reporting, and they had a widescreen TV that was sitting on a floor. And before he could change the channel, he put his foot through the screen. I can
Wow.
understand that. I've watched Fox News and wanted to put my foot through the screen.
Well, I mean, you know,
That's when you
but
change a channel before you ruin your TV.
Oh, damn. Is that the way?
yeah.
Well, if you want entertainment, try getting Republican emails.
Oh yeah,
Well, you know, come on.
Finally got
Enough
rid
is
of them.
enough. I got enough with just the bad news. Okay, I mean, I don't even like MSNBC because I feel, you know, they're just the same as Fox, except they just changed the name of the game. Okay, they lie just as much as Fox does. You know, every time I tune it in, there it's you know, Trump this, Trump that. And they never learned their lesson from 2016 when they got him elected because they talked about him too much. So, you know, I mean, I don't like MSNBC either.
I don't watch any of the cable news channels.
What
You
do
know.
you watch? How do you get your news?
Oh, last night I was actually listening to the BBC on my Sirius XM. Usually I KQED listen to a lot, but last night I was boycotting them because the Commonwealth Club, they had on, or they said they were going to have on Jake Tapper, the other guy who wrote that Biden book. And I says, I don't want to listen to that. Definitely don't want to listen to that. So I turned, and it turned out I found also when I got home, I found out that the attack by Israel on Iran, and so I wanted to get the news. So I listened to BBC. They're a good source, and as I said, I listen to NPR.
Well, the only reason the BBC is a good source is because they are basically in another country, and they're looking at us objectively. Okay,
Yeah,
they have no money in the game. You know,
they're an international broadcaster. They're not just broadcasting to one country; they're broadcasting to the entire world.
Exactly, and I always liked the BBC. I thought they've done a good job over the years. You know what I'm also enjoying, I think, pretty much, is the CBS Evening News, which, if you watch it, doesn't really have an opinion. They report the news, and then they have special reporters at the scene telling you what's going on as they see it visually. And I've just found that newscast to be delightful, to be honest with you, compared to all the other things that we've seen. You know, we stopped watching NBC because Lester Holt was gone, and the new guy is kind of, you know, he's taffy. Okay.
Well, I have to confess, Alex, it's only us old people that watch the network news.
Well, you got a point.
I'm all over the place. I don't stick on any one. I go here, I go there, I go over here, I go over there, I go to BBC, I'll go to
Well, I go watch Fox more often, but Marjorie would yell at me, you know.
Yeah.
And I figure, you know, keep the wife happy.
Hey, get a split screen. Fox on one side, MSN on the other.
Yeah, it's not worth it.
No,
it's not worth it.
I'm not married. I'll take your word for it.
I believe if you have like one of those two screen TVs where you can put one in one place and one in the other. If you had Fox on one and MSNBC in the other, the TV set would explode.
Just one half of it, right?
Just one half of it, yeah. But I mean, I just don't. You know, when the president talks about fake news. And then I watch the news that he's trying to have happen. You know, the news people have become cowards. They're cowering beneath him. And he's getting away with all this crap. And what he wants is he wants fake news too, but he wants his fake news.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I was thinking about subscribing to Truth Social.
Really?
I don't know. Curiosity killed the cat. You know, I want to.
I think what
this idiot has to say.
I think you can get it free. Can't you get it free? Can't you get it free for like 10 days or something?
Then it's $5 million in a gold card after that.
Yeah, right.
Oh, okay. Oh, it's not free then. Okay.
And don't forget the gold sneakers too.
Yeah. I got those already over here. So.
And your official Bible.
You mean you have to pay to get Trump's Truth Social?
I didn't realize that. I'll look it up.
No wonder their stock is tanking. It's like let me see here what we got for their. Their stock is down under $20 a share. 1952.
Wow.
Well, he sold all his. He doesn't care anymore.
Oh, really?
No, he didn't.
But he had to wait 6 months in order to sell, and on 6 months and a day, he sold everything.
Yeah, well, he's the only one posted on it as far as I can hear.
Are you sure he sold all of it?
No, but
okay. Well, then let's get that straight right now.
Josh says hi from Kentucky. He said he can't call in, but
Josh says hello from Kentucky. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. You might tell him hello from us too. You know.
Hey, he should have dropped by. We could have had a beer.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Hey, Vernon, where are you going
He's down
tomorrow?
by the Lincoln Museum, I think it is.
Yeah. Vernon, where are you going tomorrow?
Tomorrow?
Yeah.
I'm not going anywhere.
Oh, you're not going to be a part of the No King's Day?
No.
Well, but is there anything happening in Kentucky?
I'm sure there is.
They might have the individual might have something going on, but I'm too wimpy. I'm not going. I'm not going to get involved in that crap.
Oh, am I right? But your senator is not voting for the wonderful,
Yes,
beautiful bill.
I can't believe it, but I'm actually in favor of what Rand Paul is doing right now with that big, beautiful bill.
On the other hand,
He's opposing it.
he might change his mind because he was invited to the party finally. You heard about
No.
that one?
No, he's a dyed-in-the-wool libertarian.
Yeah.
No, he's a
One of his
dyed.
big things is the national debt, national debt, national debt. And the big, beautiful bill does nothing but balloon the national debt.
Yeah, but
So
here's
he's in it.
here's the thing about him. He was was going to go to the president's I don't know, some party that was held the other night or something, and
The picnic.
the picnic. Okay,
I think
and
it's this
and he
weekend.
was going to go to the picnic, and he found out he had been uninvited. And he then went on TV and said, "I've been uninvited from the president's little picnic, and I was going to bring my kids and everything, you know." He said, "But I have been told I'm not welcome." And finally, Trump said, "Oh no, you can come. You know, you can come to
I'd
the
wear
party."
that as a badge of honor.
Huh?
Yeah.
If I was uninvited to a Trump thing, I'd wear it as a badge of honor.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you for not inviting.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, you know, it's silly. It's all babyish. It's all childish. You know, it's all. I don't know.
Ish.
I don't know. True Social requires you to prove who you are with a government ID.
That's right. Yeah, that's I didn't want. Yeah,
They
think you're
want your
voting.
phone number, address, and a valid email address.
And you talk about all the junk mail that Tom gets.
Oh yeah.
Guess what?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I'll pass.
Hey, can I
They call it the
share?
red check verification. Sorry, Tom.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Can I share a letter from or an email from Steve Scalise about Saturday?
Sure.
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 Okay, this came in. Actually, I got 2 copies of them. From Steve Scalise. The Los Angeles riots were just the beginning. What's coming next will make your blood boil. The liberal mob will unleash pre-planned, coordinated anti-ICE riots in 1,500 cities nationwide this Saturday. That's President Trump's birthday. This isn't about standing up to Trump or fighting for what's right. It's about manufacturing chaos and advancing their radical agenda. Plain and simple. They want to infiltrate our cities and strike fear into Americans everywhere. They want to force our communities to bend to mob rule. They want governors and mayors nationwide to cave to their demands that protect violent illegals and undermine ICE. But we won't stand by and let this happen. We will not tolerate mass sanctuary cities, and we will not tolerate radical thugs. And they, by the way, they called Padilla thug yesterday.
Yeah.
Radical thugs burning our flag, looting our businesses, or assaulting ICE agents.
Wow.
House Republicans believe ICE should expand its raids on these lawless sanctuary cities, and we believe that any illegal immigrant caught at these riots should be deported immediately. We have a hunch you do too, but we do not want to guess. We need to know, do you agree ICE should expand its raids or lawless sanctuary cities? Yes or no? And by the way, when you press the yes or no, you get to a page where you can't submit your answer unless it includes a donation.
Yeah.
These riots, that's all of them all. Win red. These riots are a slap in the face to every American citizen. Time is running out before these riots explode nationwide, so we need to hear from you as soon as humanly possible. Thanks to you all. Thanks for all you do, House Republicans, via Team Scalise.
See,
What?
How's that for a line of bullshit?
he's
Yeah, really.
lining it up to make it look that way when that's not the actual
Yeah.
reason
So
it's gonna be
regardless how peaceful we will be tomorrow, they will find some way to say that we were violent thugs.
They're already
Well, to
saying
begin
it.
to begin with, you've got to be very happy because tomorrow that big wonderful parade that he's holding is going to be
rain.
It's supposed to be in terrible rainstorm.
Right.
That's awesome.
Thunderstorms.
Good.
Thunderstorms.
Yeah,
Good.
it's supposed to be terrible.
They closed the Washington Monument in thunderstorms.
Really?
Yeah, but
I
I mean,
don't necessarily believe in God, but I hope God strikes Trump down with a lightning bolt.
well, it's going to be interesting if he's going to sit there dripping wet. You know, you can make sure he's going to wear one of his caps because that hair is just going to, it's going to melt.
He uses 2 cans of hairspray every day, according to Melania, to get his hair just right. Yeah, water.
Not
and
even
hairspray,
women use hairspray anymore.
Really?
Yeah. Well, thank God that at least Trump's buying all the hairspray up for the.
Yeah, yes. There's no tariffs on hairspray.
Yeah. How do you feel about all this, Ray? Oh, turn your mic on. There you go. There you go.
Hear me?
It will turn it up
Oh, it's on the wrong one. Okay, now you can hear me, right?
a little more. Turn up the volume.
Oh, okay.
Hmm.
Is that better?
That's much better. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, just like everyone else, it's really upsetting. I never thought I'd see anything like this in the United States in my lifetime. I heard a thing on the news today where some guy who was a big Trump supporter, all of his employees got shipped out, even though they were here legally with work visas. They sent them all. They arrested them all and shipped them somewhere. And he was left
Down
with
in
nobody.
Florida, wasn't it?
Yeah, at the Florida Keys. Yeah. Or a third of his workforce or something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't.
something like
I just know that a lot of people are frightened.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are frightened because they're afraid they're going to be deported, even though they are citizens and everything else.
Yeah.
Because ICE doesn't care what they do. To begin with, they're wearing masks. They're not announcing who they are. They're not wearing any badges with their names on them or anything like that. So
It's like brown shirts.
It's like brown shirts.
Yeah.
Absolutely, no question about it.
And they
I
have
got
a
a
national
simple
quota.
Yeah.
That's supposedly for the ICE agents' own protection,
Yeah.
so they don't get attacked by the mob.
Well,
They also have a national quota of 3,000 a day to get people
Well, that's
put
the
away.
Stephen Miller quota.
so
Right.
if ICE
Yeah.
comes up to your house, we're a country of guns.
Guess who's shirt?
Second Amendment. Start using them. If they come up and they drive up and unidentifiable, you should be able to shoot them with
Yeah,
a
but they have
shotgun.
guns too, and they'll shoot you.
I'd rather die here than go end up in some prison in South America.
Well, you're not going. You're not going to. We're going to be shipped back to Israel,
Oh God.
and that's
God
forbid
forbid that.
story altogether.
Yeah, well, they're being bombed right now, so
Well, they've got they've got that Iron Dome, but it's not working as well as it was because the United States didn't send them enough new missiles.
yeah, well, the United States has fighter jets up there blowing the missiles out of the sky. That was on the news earlier today.
Yeah, yeah. Well, here's my question. Call me silly, call me stupid, call me un-American. Doesn't Iran have the right to a nuclear device? I mean, after all, if the United States has one, and Russia has one, and India has one, and Pakistan has one, and
France,
France has one, any number of countries have them, why shouldn't they be allowed to have one for their own defense?
Well, I wouldn't say they have a right to a nuclear device, but when Obama negotiated the treaty, nuclear treaty with Iran, they worked out that they had the right to develop commercial nuclear power.
That's right.
And then of course Trump dumped that whole thing.
Yep.
And then the Iranians didn't trust us even when Biden came in. The Bidens tried to renegotiate it, and they were talking. And now Trump came back and went, oh, I guess you have the right to commercial nuclear power as a part of a new agreement. And it turned out now that Trump really didn't even believe that he was just biding time for Israel to strike. So he's admitted that now, that not only did he knew, but he was complicit.
Yeah.
He could try to convince the Iranians that Israel would not attack them as long as they were negotiating a new treaty, on nuclear treaty.
But I'm asking,
so he lied.
Yeah.
He lied, and now the Iranians have no reason to trust him at all, or us as a country, because he represents us. And so
okay.
we have no credibility.
Hold on, please, Alan. Let him finish.
But I'm just saying, just to finish, we have no credibility in the world thanks to Donald Trump.
Right.
Well, all I'm asking again is the question of how dare we tell them they can't have a nuclear device when we have one? What, are we going to give up ours and say, okay, we'll give up ours, you give up yours?
Israel
Why should they? Well, let me finish what I'm saying, please, Alan. Why shouldn't they be allowed to defend themselves? And as part of that defense, have a nuclear weapon. Now, it's funny, but there have been a lot of nuclear weapons on this planet now, and how many people have ever used them?
United States.
Just us.
United States.
Just us. Okay.
The fear is if Iran develops a nuclear weapon, bye Israel.
That's right.
That's the fear.
Israel has a nuclear weapon, but they never admit it.
No, that's true. That's true.
And
but Israel has not gone on a development program for a nuclear weapon because they want to wipe out Iran. Iran is going on a nuclear weapon program because they want to wipe out Israel.
They've said that.
Yes.
But you don't think that Israel would like to wipe out Iran?
Well, they're trying right now.
Yeah. You know, these people are being bombed. Okay. Why don't they have the right to defend themselves? What, they're supposed to sit back and just take this? You know, now, I don't like Iran. I don't like their politics. I don't like any religious state, to be honest with you, because I really don't like religion that much. But the fact of the matter is, I mean, are they supposed to be defenseless?
Sure.
They were in compliance with the agreement that Obama negotiated with the European countries.
They were in complete compliance, and
it was a multi-country agreement, and Iran was abiding by it, and they were not. And
they, by the way, they were also being checked out, and
that's right. They were being inspected. Yes.
Yeah.
And the inspections were going very well, apparently. We were doing a really good job.
And it was Trump that dumped the whole
serious.
idea.
Yeah. Well, Trump knew that this was going to happen. I'm with Alex. I think he lied to the Iranians. He knew that it was going to catch them with their pants down.
Well, all I'm saying is, who are we to say you can't have a nuclear weapon when we have them? Who's any country to say you can't have a nuclear weapon when they have them? You know, Russia's got them. Everybody's got them. They can't have them? Why?
Pakistan has them.
Pakistan has them. India has them. And as I said, Israel has them, although they will not admit to it. So, I mean...
South Africa had them at one time.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Not anymore.
Ukraine had them.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Ukraine gave them all back.
And they got
because we promised to protect them.
Wait a minute. Did Ukraine have nuclear weapons?
That was part of the agreement.
That's where a lot of the Russian nuclear weapons were.
Yeah. Most of them were in Ukraine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, boy. Well, anyway, so all I'm saying is, how dare you tell Iran they can't protect themselves?
Well, all the nations that have legitimate nuclear weapons now, supposedly...
Wait a minute. Hold on a second. Did you say legitimate nuclear weapons? Did you say legitimate nuclear weapons?
I'm talking about all the countries right now that are recognized as having nuclear weapons. All are part of a non-proliferation treaty.
That's right.
Iran is not part of that.
Are we part of a non-proliferation treaty?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Well,
Yeah,
of
we
course,
are.
Trump doesn't care about trees.
Well, I'm sure
Unless
that.
it gets him the peace
I
prize, then
mean,
he'll
we,
care
we
about
had
it.
Iran saying we're not going to build nuclear devices, and then Trump came along and ruined that whole thing.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like they weren't willing to make peace with the rest of the world and show their good faith. But
Well, Trump lied about the money that we gave to Iran, which was their money that they had earned
Yeah.
from selling oil, and we impounded it as part of the negotiations for the nuclear thing. And then once they agreed to the nuclear agreement, we gave them their money back that we had held in escrow.
well,
Yeah.
but again,
Trump
in
was
his
acting
in
like
his
that's money we gave them.
in his
No, it was their
great
money.
ability, to lie, he tried to portray it as Obama gave them billions of dollars.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, no, that was their money.
Yeah,
And it was
exactly.
contingent on them non-proliferating, okay?
Yep.
And they went along with that, so they got the money. This was money that was theirs. It wasn't ours. It was in escrow here in the United States. So So now we got a nice big war starting out in the Mideast, and it's going to be really bad. And once the dust clears, do you think there'll be in Israel? You
I'm
do?
wondering if you'll be in Iran.
Huh?
I'm wondering if Iran can. Iran has got a lot of political and financial problems right now. This was timed to catch them with their pants down. They didn't wait till they built back up all their. The nuclear people are saying that they could be weeks or maybe months away from building a nuclear weapon that could be delivered to Israel. And so they caught them with their pants down. And that was strategically the right thing to do if you're going to bomb
Well, how did
them.
they get them with their pants down?
Well, like I said, they have horrible inflation. They have famine going on. They have all kinds of horrible things.
So do
going
we.
on. Yeah, I know. Well,
So do we.
I mean, nobody wants to bomb us.
And when you're talking about, and if you're talking about famine and people not being able to eat, I saw a couple of reports on the CBS Evening News this week about people who are having a hard time making ends meet, about people who don't have enough money to buy dinner.
We have a lot of children who go to bed hungry in this country.
Yes.
Yeah.
You don't know it, but we do.
Yep, sure do.
So, I mean, when you talk about countries being in a bad situation that way, we are in just the same bad situation here.
Well, why don't they just drop a bunch of nukes on 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue?
Can we now talk about things that are realistic? I mean, I'm ashamed of the way when I saw these reports on people who, good, solid families and good, solid people. One was an old lady who just couldn't afford to. All she could do was afford to pay her rent, and that was it. Beyond that, she didn't have any money left for food or anything else.
Groceries are so expensive; it's absurd.
Yep.
I'll tell you, I've gotten a decent amount of money. Okay. I've started looking what we're paying to eat. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's just ridiculous. I mean, we can either go to a restaurant or we can go to the grocery store. Either way, we're going to come out spending a fortune.
Yep.
And it bothers me because I'll tell you, years ago, again, call me too liberal, okay, too much to the left. But I had an attitude about grocery stores. When I walked down the aisles, I saw all this food, and there was a price on every bit of it. And I'm thinking to myself, the only thing that keeps us alive is putting fuel in our bodies. And the very fuel we need to sustain our lives is for sale in a grocery store. There's something wrong with that equation, and if you want to get free food, they give you like some cans of stuff, or they don't give you anything that even begins to become true sustenance.
A bag of oranges.
You don't even get that. You know.
Well, I was working at I was volunteering at the food distribution center, and they would just get like hundreds of boxes of rejected oranges, and and then put them in bags. But
Yep.
how many oranges is a family going to eat? And like, you need something more than oranges.
Yes.
Yeah.
But that's all they're going to give them.
And when you talk about programs which will take care of feeding people or whatever, what's this government's answer? Well, let them get a job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, the food companies that manufacture are making record profits.
Yep.
Yep.
It's horrible. It's a travesty, and no one's doing anything about it.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like, if you want to eat in this country, you have to go to some kind of food bank, and then they hand you the food like, here you are, you poor thing.
Yeah.
There's no dignity in being able to accept these these food banks and so on. There's always some price you have to pay with your dignity.
Yeah, and you have to stand out in line out in some busy street for a long time and look like a pauper or somebody from the Depression.
But nobody can get anything free in this country. You've got to pay for it, even if it's with your dignity.
Yeah. Well, I have to say, here in Berkeley, we have the Berkeley Food Pantry. My daughter used to be the the director of that. But one of the nice things about the Berkeley Food Pantry was they let people choose what food they want. So it's like going to a grocery store. I would like this, I don't want that. So I would say that certainly helps to preserve people's dignity when they have a choice.
Well, Berkeley's a different story altogether.
But also, how many of these organizations now are being deprived of an income because the government is not supplying support anymore?
Yep.
Big
food bank in San Francisco just went out of business because the government's not giving them money to take care of the
Monterey Food Bank has empty shelves.
Really?
Yeah, they had a drive on TV last week or the week before. They raised over $500,000, but how long does that last?
I've said this before, and I'll say it again, and that is that I don't think, for instance, we should have to open up food banks and pay to have the food come in. It should be given to them by the government. Our government, for all the money we pay in taxes, should, in reply to that, take care of the people. I think the only thing a government should do is take care of the people. And when it doesn't,
talking about SNAP? You're talking about the SNAP benefits that Trump wants to drastically cut?
Well, that goes to kids, right?
It goes to families, children, Actually, it goes to adults too, because I know people who don't have children that are on SNAP.
What kind of evil human beings want to deprive people of food?
And it was the richest man in the world who did this.
Elon.
Yeah, a man who could take half his fortune and hand it over to the food banks of America, and they would be eating for the next 10 years.
Yeah.
Okay?
I think we ought to start praying right now that the Democrats take over, impeach Trump, and put Musk in jail.
Well, you're never going to impeach Trump, and you're never going to put Musk in jail.
I think there's a better chance at Musk than there is at Trump.
I don't think you're going to put Musk in jail. The worst thing you can do to Musk is have him start losing money so he isn't worth what he was. I just noticed today that he's raising the prices on his S's and his X's, on S and X model Teslas. And that's a sign that his company is not doing well.
They have a big sales sign. I think I said this last week or the week before. There's the Tesla plant is about a mile south of me, and it runs right next to 880. It's the old General Motors plant, but they have sales signs and it says "Come buy your car right here, parking lot sales," great deals and stuff. And I never saw those before he went to work for Trump.
Oh, there was a waiting list, wasn't there, for Teslas?
Yes.
Yeah.
You know.
Not anymore. They got this huge parking lot full of brand new Teslas sitting there.
Yep.
Wow.
I wouldn't take a Tesla if I was given one.
Me either.
Me either.
Well, at this
They're
point,
all over where I live, all over the place here.
well, it's not. You see, the other thing that he didn't never realized, or maybe he realized it, but he didn't think it would ever come to pass, is that there are other electric automobiles that are just as good,
Or
if
better.
not better.
Yeah.
I mean, Brian, who isn't here tonight, but he's a big car fan. He has an electric Cadillac. He says
Yep.
it's a much better car than the Tesla that I think he owned at one point, or that his ex-girlfriend owned.
Exactly.
The
Huh?
Teslas are pretty poorly built cars. They're very fast,
Yeah, I was just gonna say
but the
right.
manufacturing is not very good.
I've been in them, and I love the big display. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm fascinated by the big display, and it obliterates everything else around me. But
Yeah.
pretty much, it's a cheap car.
Yeah,
You know?
but it's expensive.
No, it's expensive, sure.
There's a lot of AA batteries in that battery pack.
Yeah. But I mean, and
Don't laugh, it's true.
Well, the first Teslas use laptop batteries,
Same thing.
all connected together in the trunk.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's what they're doing. The newer ones are using AA batteries that are all connected together when you take the battery pack apart.
Oh,
That's why they want lithium.
Yep.
well, we don't have to worry about setting Teslas on fire. They'll set themselves on fire with
Yeah.
enough lithium
Yeah.
batteries.
Oh, the fire departments around here, Tesla taught them how to put out the fire. Water.
Water?
On lithium stops the fire.
Mm-hmm.
well, our neighbor's house caught on fire probably because their Tesla got on fire.
Oh,
3
really?
houses down from me. Yeah.
Wow.
Can I buy it? Can I buy the lot cheap in your neighborhood?
No, I mean only the garage burnt down. The rest of the house was saved.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
All right.
The Tesla was probably playing a Trump station or something.
I mean, it's very, people don't need to have a Tesla now, and I found the Tesla interesting in that I could get one that drives itself, things like that, which would help me as an older person get around better. Okay. But I'm sure all the other cars are going to do the same thing. And, he's not the only game in town.
Doesn't San Francisco have Waymos, which are self-driving taxis?
I got to tell you this. I got to tell you the smartest thing that the demonstrators did in Los Angeles. You know why those Waymos caught on fire? Because the app, they called them up, and they came to pick them up in the riot zone, and then they set them on fire.
Yep.
So
hopefully they had false profiles in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they're not really that
But
smart
I still
either.
think it's amazing. Here comes one Waymo, set it on fire. Here comes another one, set it on fire. I think finally.
Set it on fire.
I'm gonna be able to use one pretty soon. I see them all around my house now.
Yeah, they're all around.
That's one of the first things I'm going to do if I come back to San Francisco, because Larry Brown, who, as you know, is a big Luddite, would love to try a Waymo. So I told him if I come to San Francisco, I'll order up a Waymo and we'll take it.
Yeah.
We'll have it
I'd
take.
like to see the video of that one. Old Larry sitting in there going, "Oh my God!"
No. He is fascinated by
Be
it.
sure to record it.
Huh?
Yeah.
Is it the same guy that uses no cell phones?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Maybe I'll go
Flip
up there
phone.
and give him a ride.
Yeah.
Come on, Larry, let's go.
No, but the Waymos look fascinating.
They're just Jaguars. They're Jaguars.
Yeah, they're Jaguars.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
SUVs. Yeah.
Jaguar makes them, absolutely.
Crossover, and I saw them in Scottsdale when I was there, and I've seen them in San Francisco. I think there's some in San Jose now.
There are. They're in
Yeah.
they're in Palo Alto. But I just got a
Yeah.
text. I just got an email from Waymo today saying soon I'll be able to use it.
Yeah,
I wonder if they have Waymos here in New York. I don't think so. I haven't seen any.
I don't think so. It's just San Francisco, and then it's going to be the whole Bay Area.
Ray, maybe you could become their spokesman.
Well, wait a minute. They also have them in L.A., obviously, because they were calling up those Waymos to set them on fire.
Yep.
You know.
Oh yeah, they have them in L.A. Yeah.
And I hear they have a lot of them. I thought it was just like they had 20 of them or
there's
something like
tons.
that.
Hundreds.
San
all over
Francisco, they're all over the place.
All over. They're everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they don't stop for the cops either.
They don't
that
stop.
One that, they had one that cop, it ran a red light, I think, or got close to a red light. So the cop pulled it over. It was over down by Market Street, I think. And the cop pulled it over, and as he got out of the car,
it took off.
It took off. And then it went another block and pulled over. And then
did they handcuff
there, and it picked up and it took off. Well, the problem was that behind every Waymo is somebody sitting in an office working a computer, and they're supposed to, when they see lights or something that's out of whack, they're supposed to shut it down. Mm-hmm. And the guy was drinking coffee or talking to his buddy while the car was getting pulled over, and it kept taking off.
Well, I mean, you can't really stop a Waymo, can you? Except at stoplights, it stops itself. You know.
Yeah, but they have to have somebody monitoring it in an office on a computer. Like I'm sitting here looking.
I wonder who gets the ticket.
That's what I'd like to know.
Yeah, I would too.
The company, I guess.
A robot.
Like my rat rod. My rat rod has 2 steering wheels, 2 gas pedals, and 2 brakes. And when the kids took it from Lincoln, Nebraska down into Vegas, they got pulled over by a cop, right? And they said, "Oh, I just want to check out the car because of what it is and everything else. It's a little space-looking car." And he looked in there and he goes, "Oh, there's 2 steering wheels. And which one's driving?" He goes, "Well, if we were drinking, which one would you give the ticket to?" And the cop said, "It's a good question. I'd have to flip a coin, I guess."
Yeah,
what kind of car is it?
It's a car he won.
It's a rat rod.
Rat rod.
Huh. Got 11 different cars put on it. It's got a little bit of Impala, some Ford wagon. It's got a British Anglia. Yeah, it's originally a right-hand drive. They changed it over to the left
but
side.
But you won it, right?
Yeah, I won it a few years ago, about 5 years ago.
Yeah, and so your kids use it?
The kids built it. It was a youth group out of Arizona, and they built the thing for the SEMA rat rod drive off build off, and they had to build it in 11 months and then take it up to Lincoln, Nebraska, and drive it down into Vegas to prove that it worked.
Oh, okay.
So they took an old piece of crap car that was tacoed up in the junkyard and pulled it out and said, "Okay, we're going to make something out of this." And they called it the Space Car to SEMA because it's got 2 wheels.
What do you mean tacoed up?
Yeah, I mean, well, you got to be careful with that word.
That means that it had no roof.
Oh, okay.
And it was falling in.
Oh, okay.
I see. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
That word has a whole
They
new meaning.
built the thing in
Cool.
Yeah.
11 months on weekends.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're all welcome to meet me in San Francisco when I do this thing with Larry. With Larry.
You come to San Francisco, I'll take you to House of Prime Rib.
Yeah.
Come to San Francisco, I'll take you to House of Prime Rib.
And I'll come with you.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right.
I'll buy.
Anyway, but it's a big. Everybody's got to watch Larry in a Waymo for crying out loud.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
You gotta do a live broadcast on that.
Yeah,
one.
really, from inside the Waymo.
Live on Facebook.
Yeah. But
Larry with his cordless phone in his hand.
Yeah.
You go down that one street, hookers.
Anyway, that's it for tonight, and that's it for this week. Thank you so much, Jeff. You haven't said a word tonight, but you do have a couple little red marks on your head from having all that.
That's the brain thing.
Stuff, the brain stuff on you. You through with it now?
Yeah, I'm off.
Okay. Hey, you feeling okay?
Yeah, took it off
All right.
this evening today.
Okay. Thank you very
doesn't
much.
Go out yet.
Thank you, Kevin. I appreciate it. Vernon, nice seeing you here tonight. Charlie, as always, wonderful seeing you. Will, good. Nice having you here. Tom Yamaguchi, always thrilled when you call. Always thrilled when Ray calls, because we know it's going to be a good show, too. Anyway, everybody give a big wave goodbye. and I will give a big wave goodbye at you. There they go, ladies and gentlemen. That's our citizen panel for tonight. Amy Manuel is next. She's here with the intersection, and she's going to be taking your calls. If you go over to gabnet.net, and down in the third column at the bottom, it says Alex Bennett. It says Amy Manuel. You double click on the Amy Manuel, and it'll take you to her Zoom. Okay? In the meantime, I'll see you again Monday for the pop-up show. And next Wednesday, we'll be back again. Same time, same station in life. In the meantime, if you see her, tell her I love her. Okay? Bye-bye, everybody.